Hey, what's up? Welcome back, everybody, to the weekly CHASEPAL podcast. And we've got some good stuff cooked up for you today, hot off the Chaser drama train. Back here with Andrew.
How's it going, everyone?
We're going to be talking about the Chaser of the Week results from last week. We had pretty much a landslide victory. Definitely, I think both of our favorite photos ended up winning. So
Yeah, I'm not surprised. This is who I voted for as well.
yeah, absolutely. It's just a beautiful shot. We've got this week's contestants coming up. We've got a couple of articles and stories that we wanted to touch on.
And of course, Hurricane Beryl. Love to talk about there.
Yes. Great stuff. So let's start off with Chaser of the Week. Last week, the winner was, unsurprisingly, Roger Hill. One of the most spectacular images I've ever seen. Just really pretty color, really pretty spot. Hard to beat. So congrats, Roger.
Yeah, and with this, by the way, we have a new number one on the Storm Chaser Power Ranking. So
Oh, that's right. The power rankings, yes.
we've got the first entry. We'll get that going once we have a few more weeks under us, as far as the rankings for that goes. But right now, number one Storm Chaser in the world, Roger Hill.
Congrats, Roger. You're in the lead. This is your race to lose now.
Exactly.
So going into this week, we've got George Ilstrup, this really good photo from Flint Hill. I think this is in Kansas, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I should have double checked. I know I sent this, but I just saw that on Twitter and was like, "Yep, that's a supercell."
That is a supercell, a supercell, you might say. So got some cool
Indeed.
colors.
Yeah. What I really love about this picture is how vertically stacked it is. A lot of times with supercells, you see a lot of tilt with that upper level shear. A lot of times it's really hard to get a cell that looks this straight up and down, right? Because as soon as you start getting that rain and that rain cooled air, it kills the updraft, etc. But I would love to see the radar for this particular cell. I mean, I can't imagine that there was a window of time where it looked this powerful and this well structured, but also with this orientation.
Yeah, no kidding. And I feel like 15 minutes after this photo was taken, this road is exactly the kind of one that would have put my ass in a ditch. That was probably just terrible. You could not have been there any later than that, so really good photo right here.
Some massive hail in there, too, you already know.
Oh, yeah, some Gorilla Hail, some DVDs in there, maybe.
Yeah, some boneless wing-size hail in there.
Boneless wing-size hail. All right, moving on. We've got Tim Slane on Twitter at EvilBillWX. This really cool photo that reminds me of the final scene from Twister when they're driving through the cornfield. From southern Nebraska this week. Really cool colors, really cool landscape. Good inflow tail there. I think this is a really cool photo, actually. I like this one a lot.
I like this one a lot, too, and I think it's really cool just how far you can see. I mean, think about if this storm was going on and you were in some place like southeastern Oklahoma, you're not seeing this.
No.
I mean, this is like not even close. So this is why I love chasing Nebraska. Only got to do it a couple of times. Of course, haven't really seen anything up there, but it's great terrain to chase up there.
I feel like he had to stand straight up and hold his phone over the corn stalks to get this photo, and that's just an even better story.
That's a great point, yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Mike Collier from Holly Lackey. Holly Lackey's the one that actually took this photo from Muskogee, Oklahoma. There were some storms that rolled through the OKC area on the 4th of July, and they kind of left the metro just as dark fell, and they were lighting off fireworks, and this photo is really cool. I was seeing this from... This is absolutely a winner. I was seeing stuff like this from my apartment balcony, but this is the crispest thing that I've seen, even considering I saw it in real life. So awesome photo from Holly. If we find her social media, we'll definitely make sure that she's tagged appropriately, but really cool photo here. And then lastly, we've got Brian Metz from White Sands National Park in New Mexico. I just think the colors on this is kind of crazy. What a cool scene.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. This picture it's not the coolest storm I've ever seen. It's not the biggest clouds or anything, but the composition of the actual photo from a photography standpoint is unbelievable. It's perfect.
Right. I feel like you'd have to have a lot of experience in photography to be able to know exactly how to take this picture, and he did it perfectly.
Yeah, I wonder how long ahead of this that he was out there sitting there trying to get that shot.
Oh, I know. Imagine it's just one of those things where he walked up and said, "Oh, that's a cool photo," and just snapped it real quick. And one of those things that you're sitting there, it's like, bro, how do you just whip out a camera and take that real quick without thinking about it? That had to be preparation.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, these are our 4 contestants. The poll will be up on Twitter by the time this comes out, so make sure you go vote. Find us at ChasePalWX on Twitter. And with that,
make sure to send us submissions for next week. Right now we're just kind of trolling Twitter, trying to find what we can, looking at Instagram, Facebook, whatever. But yeah, it'd be fantastic if you guys can send us any cool storms that you see. Just tag ChasePal, and we'll take a look at them.
Yep, tag us, DM us. I know I've got a link in the description that gives you the link to our email. You can email it to us if you like. Any way that you want to get a hold of us and submit your stuff, we'd love to see it.
All right, well, thanks, Charlie, for showing that. Let's start. I'll go ahead and share my screen here, and we can start with what I'm sure everyone is interested in, which is Beryl. Right now, tropical storm. Beryl, of course, not yet a hurricane. I say not yet because it almost 100% chance will be a hurricane by this time tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Beryl's rapid intensification over east of Jamaica, south of Haiti, and that region. A lot of those islands got very lucky with the timing of that kind of recycling right before it made impact. But it's very, very strong. Category 5, Category 4 for most of the time until it just made landfall in Mexico as a powerful hurricane. And we talked about last week that we'd have a better idea if Texas would be in the bullseye. And here's the latest hurricane cone. Definitely is. Right now, the Hurricane Center has it forecast to strengthen back into a hurricane, likely to be a Cat 1 or Cat 2 at landfall. However, the potential is there for even greater strengthening. The sea surface temperatures right now are extremely high. Beryl is looking fantastic from and I'll actually just go ahead and look at the satellite. There's been robust convection all morning. And the loop is, it's really impressive. This is a tropical storm, guys. This is not a hurricane yet. Oh, I should have had this loaded.
I haven't seen this yet, so I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. Okay, it's lagging quite a bit, but it should be good. Yeah, there we go. So you can see the center is still very, very robust. Very high clouds here. And what you really want to see for a developing hurricane is this cirrus plume overhead moving anticyclonically, and of course that is what you see here, which sets the stage for this to develop even more. As it approached the Mexican area, we saw some shear get in there and kind of weaken it down to a Cat 2, Cat 3. Still very strong storm. Here, the issue is more so the dry air. So here is the GFS model for the next couple of days. This is pretty much right now, and you can see there's a lot of dry air here in the Gulf. And as it's leaving Mexico, heading up into the Gulf. Yeah, there's sea surface temperatures, but this is this 300 to 700 relative humidity. And so anywhere you see brown, anywhere this gets kind of sucked up into the center of the system, you're going to have issues with creating a super robust storm. So this is 24 hours from now, Sunday morning. This is what we're looking at, actually. And you can see that dry air still a problem here on the east-southeast side, which does create issues for tropical systems because, yes, you get this moisture wrapped in, and yes, you can get moisture on the northwest side, which is usually where the most robust convection is occurring anyways. But then it's really hard for these systems to close off on the southern side. And because of that, I do expect, and the Hurricane Center expects this, to be somewhat limited in the intensification before it reaches landfall, until it can really cycle out that dry air, which I will say some of the models 12 to 24 hours before landfall in Texas does have this dry air getting chopped off, and it's really robust moisture with low shear entering the environment. So what I would predict is that we have a strong tropical storm kind of touching on Cat 1 through tomorrow, but really struggling to get stronger than that, and then boom, intensification right before landfall, at least making it to an upper level Cat 1, probably Cat 2, or even stronger depending on the timing of this dry air. And so I want to show you, this is what the HWRF is showing. Now, this model, the HWRF, of course, it is always showing a intensification of a storm, right? But it also is sometimes accurate with just the organization of the storm. So don't pay too much attention to the central low pressure, but what I want you to see is how, okay, this is, again, Sunday morning. It's not completely closed off because there is this dry air entrainment in here, but then as it gets closer to landfall, boom. That is a very symmetric storm with very warm waters and low shear with quite a bit of time. I mean, this particular model shows it dropping over 10 millibars in just less than a day. So this is what we're going to be watching. I would say this is a great opportunity if you're down in Texas to go chase this and go see potentially the center. I wouldn't be surprised if the eye can clear out. I think it'll be one of those cases where you're not going to see blue sky eye, you're not going to see stadium effect, but you could see a very strong, robust eye wall move on shore that brings with it a lot of surge. So you'll want to be definitely in an elevated area. This is not a small storm that's moving on shore here. The wind field is going to be very, very large, given that it's been alive for so long and it has been disrupted by previous landfalls. And there also is quite a risk of, in the northeast quadrant, these supercell rain bands moving on shore with the tornado risk. So yeah, the Hurricane Center, I'll show you what their wind probabilities currently. So this is the tropical storm force wind probabilities. You can see right along the southeast Texas coast here, really high potential for these winds. But then when you look at what the Hurricane Center has for hurricane winds, I do expect this to go up. I wouldn't be surprised to see most of this area in the 20 to 40% range by the time of landfall. So this is honestly a great hurricane to chase. It's not going to be something that is going to leave you stranded for weeks, like we saw with a lot of the Louisiana hurricanes a couple years, 20, Lake Charles, some of the Florida hurricane, Gulf Coast recently. So you're going to be able to get down there, chase it, but it's also not one that you're going to want to be left unprepared for because of the possibility of the intensification. So let's see. I don't think I had anything else with that, but yeah, so that's what we're looking at for Beryl. And then also behind it, there's nothing. At least for the next little bit. We can look at the 7-day outlook. Absolutely nothing once Beryl leaves. There's quite a bit of dry air out here. A couple more tropical waves, it looks like, that's going to make its way off of Africa, and a very strong Bermuda high currently. So, we'll be watching it, but it'll be probably early August that we kind of see the Atlantic ramp up at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. It's about time for a break, I think, for a lot of storm chasers, because we went right from tornado season into this, major hurricane. It's probably about time.
I saw a good meme on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it, but it was like the relay racing runner, and it was storm season in the front and hurricane season in the back, and it said perfect handoff. I think the storm chaser Nick posted that or something.
Yeah, I did see that. That was good. I think I saw Jordan repost it, actually. I was like, oh yeah, he's right. That was seamless. Speaking of tornado season, doesn't necessarily seem like it's done yet. I've got the day 2 outlook pulled up here on the SPC. You can see there's a little 2% spot in Oklahoma tomorrow on Sunday the 6th. Sunday the 7th, my bad. I live really close to this, but unfortunately I'm going to have to be making the drive to Dallas tomorrow late afternoon, so I don't think I'll be able to chase any of that 2%. But it looks like it's going to be mostly strong winds, maybe a little bit of hail out west, and you can see you've got this band like Andrew was talking about down near the Texas coast where hurricane's going to be coming in. It's actually a pretty good chance of some weak tornadoes down there, and some strong winds, of course, from the outer bands of Beryl. So you've got that to look forward to if you're anywhere in the southern Midwest region. And then after Monday, you've got a little bit from the leftovers of that hurricane coming through, but nothing to really write home about. And then you've got a lot of quiet period going forward. So, like I was saying, it's just about time for a break up here, and we're going to be having a very difficult time finding content to talk about for 20, 30 minutes about this. But that's what we're looking at forecasting-wise right now. So, I guess we'll...
Yeah, and you know what? It's July. There's always going to be something in the mid-Atlantic late July that we can talk about. No doubt there will be a derecho before the month's over, so there'll always be something to talk about.
Oh yeah, Pennsylvania, Ohio area will get smacked with some 70-mile-an-hour winds, and we'll get to watch a tree fall on a house or something like we do every year.
Yeah, pretty much.
So let's, I guess we'll start with the article that I found right before we recorded this, and we just wanted to kind of talk about what a ridiculous notion this is. I'll link the article in the description of the stream here. It's called "Tornado Tourists Flock to Oklahoma for Their Own Twister's Chase, but Can You Tour Safely?" Immediately, I think Andrew and I both agree that this is kind of a strange headline.
Yeah, as soon as you read this headline, it screams, you have never heard about storm chasing until you tried to write this article. That's the first thing that I thought.
Yeah, it's like you watched the first Twister when you heard that the second one was coming out, and then you're like, oh, what is this? And you looked it up, and it's something that, maybe some crazier people have done in the past, or you've liked to research it, and he figured out that tour companies exist for this stuff, and
dude, I love these headlines.
I know, and the way he writes it, he's like, here's some advice for like finding a good tour, and he says, find the right severe storm tour guide. You might not even see a tornado, which if you know anything about storm chasing at all, it's like, yeah, that's kind of standard.
Almost a given.
Yeah,
he needs to get rid of the not even. It says you might see a tornado. That should be.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to get rid of the even. Just straight, you might even see a tornado. Like at that point, exactly. He's just advertising. Yeah. But yeah, and he does. I'll give him this. He makes a valid point that some people do think that they're going to see the tornado from the Wizard of Oz every time they chase, and like ideally, yeah, that's the goal. But realistically, if you know anything about storm chasing and you're not just somebody that really did just watch Twister or the Twisters movie coming out soon, and you're like, oh, I want to give that a try, like it should be pretty standard that you're not expecting to see anything other than some nice clouds.
Well, actually, if you can scroll up again too, there's this quote that is kind of amusing too. This looks like it's from a tour guide. People have this idea in their mind that every tornado is going to be Wizard of Oz. Not all tornadoes are like that, he said. Yeah, I would go one step further. Not all storms are like that.
No.
If I see a tornado, I'm so pumped. Much less, if I see Wizard of Oz tornado, that's spectacular, right? And I've seen on one hand the number of tornadoes like that in years of chasing. And it's, when we go chasing, I would say my bar is at like, usually if I see a rotating wall cloud, it's been a good day.
Mm-hmm. Or some cool structure, cloud,
If I see a cloud moving, it's been a good day. So I think people's bars, especially who don't live in Oklahoma. Well, actually, I talk from my own experience because I'm from the East Coast, from South Carolina, and as soon as I moved to Oklahoma, my perception was that we get tornadoes all the time in Oklahoma, just daily during the spring and summer. You could just go outside, go somewhere in Oklahoma, see a tornado. And then I came out there, and went to school. I didn't have a background. I wasn't following all this. And when I started going to school for meteorology, and that is very opposite to what happened.
Yeah, no. Like
I would say over half the tornadoes that even occur aren't even visible, or you can't chase them for whatever reason. It's not in good terrain. It's rain wrapped. It's at night. Just a whole host of reasons. So going out chasing, seeing a tornado should not be your level of success for storm chasing.
Yeah, and a lot of it varies on the year too. Like you said, you came out here and you expected to see tornadoes. I was a little bit invested in this kind of thing before I came out here because I grew up in Michigan, and it was like I knew there wasn't going to be a tornado every day, but I expected most of the tornadoes that did happen during the peak season to be in Oklahoma. And like the first, what was it, up until 2023, from 2020 to 2023, we hardly saw anything in Oklahoma at all that was worth about 5 cents of our attention span. And God knows you and I made the drive to Kansas a bunch of times, and we've never seen anything there.
Yep.
So it's just, it's you might not even see a tornado, of course, but you might see a tornado on a good day. It's if you're a gambling person, this is really the sport for you, but don't come into this expecting that you're going to see, the tornado of a lifetime. And even if you do see a tornado, like Andrew said, it's not the kind of thing where you're going to walk into or walk underneath a storm and see a tornado off in the distance, and it's going to move slowly over some open fields. I've had a chase this year where I was like, I had to do 360-degree turn around myself and figure out where these tornadoes were dropping from. So it can be a lot of fun, and you can see tornadoes, but you might have 12 seconds to actually look at them before they disappear and something else happens. It's chaotic.
It is. That is exactly right.
So, just kind of a ridiculous article all around. And then they finish off by saying chasing storms is a risky business. Yeah. I think that kind of goes without saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know, and this is also an interesting topic because there's different ways to storm chase. And frankly, there are dangerous ways of storm chasing and there are safer ways of storm chasing. And, you know, I'm not here to judge one way or the other. Everyone enjoys doing it differently. But there are safe ways to storm chase. And there are ways to almost completely eliminate the risks of getting injured or being in any type of danger from the storms themselves.
Yep.
And this is a really important topic because you are always going to have the same risks of driving on the road with other people as you would have in any other situation. And that's an inherent risk of chasing because you're always on the road, and it's heightened by the fact that there's a lot of people that drive unsafely around storms. You know, so there's only so much you can do with that to mitigate that risk. But I would argue that chasing storms can be a very, very safe activity if you choose for it to be so.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned, you know, people are going to drive stupid around storms. That's whether they're storm chasing or not. Especially if they're not storm chasing, they're going to be freaking out and making, you know, stupid, like Grand Theft Auto AI style moves where they try to cut across 3 lanes to get away from this storm that looks scary, but, you know, it might not have anything larger than pennies or nickel sized hail in there. And it's nothing worth killing somebody over, but they don't know what to do in that situation. So it's almost safer to be surrounded by storm chasers, and I feel like there's a much lower margin of error when you have people that are aware of what's happening around them weather-wise. So it's just a really interesting way to phrase that.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's coming from 2 people who have storm chased. Of course, like I said, I'll link this article in the description here, and you can draw your own conclusions. But we wanted to highlight that. We thought it was kind of an interesting thing to say. But we'll move on to our next topic here. Andrew, I'll let you take this one. It looks like you're ready.
Yeah. I'm almost ready. Actually, I realized another topic that we can talk about after this one too. Another tweet.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
But first we're going to talk about this one. This is very, very common to see this type of thing recently on Twitter. By the way, I'm only ever calling it Twitter.
As it should be.
Yeah. This is from Storm Chaser Jaden Pappenheim, which, forgive me, I don't know my Storm Chaser community very well. I'm one of those people that just goes out, enjoys looking at cool clouds, and then going home, and so I don't get involved in a lot of stuff. But got a decent number of followers and clearly some good photos. So he posted this. This is what I see on my page, and it's a picture of a shelf cloud covered with "Don't steal my shit, don't steal my shit" as a watermark, right? And then the comments, dude is having a tantrum. No, I'm simply sticking up for hardworking individuals who have their work stolen. Okay, so where did this come from, right? Let's take a look at this. This breaks open the can of worms that a lot of chasers dip their toes into. Okay, W2F is wrong with people these days. Great Lakes Weather and Climate posted this picture. Okay, fantastic panorama of incoming shelf cloud, Michigan, photo captured by storm chaser Jaden Pappenheim.
Okay, you didn't show me this before we started, but that makes what I'm about to say probably sounds a little bit more or maybe less ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah. So
I thought it was worse than this.
Because first of all, let me outline both sides, okay? For people who aren't really, I'm sure most people listening to this know about this, but storm chasers, they go out, they take pictures or videos, and then they own that. And if they post it, then it is common courtesy to repost what those chasers post to drive the traffic and the engagement to their pages. Or news companies, if they want to post it, then they can pay for the opportunity to use that footage as their own with credit on their news stations. So the issue is kind of twofold, right? Some people just see a cool picture, screenshot it, and repost it. And I think that we can all agree that that is wrong. I think that, no credit whatsoever. Some people, like this, screenshot it, so they're still getting all the clicks, they're still getting all the views, but they give credit to the storm chaser. So that is now, suddenly we're in a gray area. Like, okay, this is not my photo, this is someone else's photo, but I'm still getting the engagement from it, right? So obviously this particular chaser, Jaden, takes great issue with this. Thanks for stealing my photo. You could have simply asked permission, although I wouldn't have allowed you to use it anyway. Please take this down before I file a copyright strike. Thanks. And then the comments very quickly go downhill here. Bro, this isn't a true copyright issue. You get credit, therefore turn out the window. I could have easily filed a strike. Boohoo, Cloud Boy. Okay. Charlie, what are your thoughts on this? Is this a overreaction by Jaden?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit out of line. I mean, let's look at it holistically here, and I'll go back to sharing your screen in a moment, but I want to share my screen here because it's interesting you brought that up. When I post Chaser of the Week to Twitter, I made very sure I tagged everybody's photos that we used. I attached their name to the photo. I actually went into Photoshop and made sure to write their name out in each individual photo because they deserve the credit for taking the photo. And I just posted the winner, Roger, here. I didn't put his name on this particular photo, but I did make sure to tag him, and I made sure that he was, obviously made sure that people knew that he's the one that took this picture. This is not my content.
We are posting this with the intention of driving traffic to their page.
Exactly.
And
yeah,
that's what it comes down to. And sharing their content.
So yeah, like you were saying, it's almost like a they didn't tag him per se, but the way that they shouted out his name and made sure that everybody knew, like, hey, this is whose photo this is. It seems maybe a little bit ridiculous that he wouldn't want free advertising. That is really the only way that I can describe that.
Yeah, and what it comes down to is, and I'm a storm chaser myself, and I very much believe in owning content. Dude, you are taking picture of a cloud that you are getting credit for on the repost.
Yeah.
It is not that big a deal. It is just not that big a deal. If this was a, exclusive footage of a tornado that, you could sell or something like that, I gotta be honest, no one's gonna pay for this footage. So the best you can hope for, if someone is not gonna pay for it, is advertising and building your brand, growing your brand. That's what it's all about at this stage.
Mm-hmm. And if you're, like you said, no one's inherently going to pay for footage if you just put out a tweet and say, hey, I have footage. You have to take a risk and post that and see other people repost it, and the people that see the repost will repost, and it's a snowball effect. Like, I feel like I'm just gonna say, I feel like most people with common sense would probably know that. And that's how you build yourself independently. It's not really up to other people to come to you and ask if they can retweet something. So if I click the repost on that original picture on Twitter, are you going to come at me and say, oh, that's not, you didn't take that photo, you can't retweet it or whatever? It's just a little bit ridiculous, and it certainly makes me think that your content shouldn't be included in Chaser of the Week if you're going to light us up in the comments like that. But it's just an interesting perspective.
This leads me to kind of a secondary question with this, right? Because so we both agree that he's overreacting, and this is very much not a great business move by him. However, does he still have the right to do this, given that it is his content?
Um, to a degree, maybe, and that's I think where I kind of draw the line. He's welcome to tell people not to maybe post it on their own account, but he also has just as much a right to, watermark the photo in a legitimate way, like the "Don't steal my shit" watermark. That's kind of cringe. Um, if you go back to the page you were on, I think I see a watermark in there of his. Yeah, that one. Yeah, down at the bottom, there's like clearly a a watermark of some kind there over the road. So it's a little bit ridiculous to me that he would want to do that, but if he really wants to say, "Hey, don't use this photo for any reason," um, don't post it on the internet, is really all I'm gonna say about that. Because yeah, there's always gonna be a risk of somebody stealing it, and if somebody steals it legitimately, you deal with it. But coming after absolutely everybody, I think it's foolish. I don't think you have the right to say, you know, I mean, we could look at fair use law and all that stuff, but I'm pretty sure that wouldn't hold up in court. And I think I saw comments about that.
I agree. And Laura, I actually really agree with this comment. That was very rude, which it just was. I think you slammed a well-meaning person who posted it, noting credit to you and with a watermark.
Yeah.
And this is what it comes down to. There are pages. There was an example of this. There was a large Twitter account that posts sciencey things for educational purposes that totally ripped, I think it was Jordan Hall's tornado footage from some particular day. And, the thing is with them is their reason for posting that was to drive engagement to the page. It was a huge Twitter page, and they could have easily retweeted it. They could have easily done it in a different way while still posting it towards their account. I don't think that was a well-meaning person. No. I mean, they're called Weather and Climate. I mean, it's a page that just reposts cool weather pictures. You take weather pictures, you post it, expect it to be reposted by these pages. And, he says, okay, so we should just be okay with people stealing our content? No. There's, like I said, this is a gray area, but I would draw the line at when people are earning money off of it, earning views, building their own brand off of your content, and you're not benefiting from it. But he's benefiting from it here.
Exactly.
So, that would be my argument there.
Yeah, even when we do our Storm Chaser stories and stuff, and you guys will see this more over the next few weeks as these videos come out, whenever there's like a cutaway shot and there's an image that didn't come directly from one of us, if there's a source that I can cite, I do cite it. You'll see text underneath the photo of like, oh, this is not my photo, this is from X Chaser. If there's an accreditation that I can find attached to that image, and sometimes it is really difficult. I don't mean to steal anyone's footage or anything like that, and if somebody finds a picture of theirs in a video and I don't credit them, like, send us a DM or something and we'll take care of it. I don't have any problem with that. I want to give you credit. But for something like this, it's kind of just a crazy thing. It's kind of just, I just saw what you pulled up next, sorry. It's kind of a crazy thing to come after somebody for properly giving you credit and trying to highlight your work to a wider audience. And I feel like, you don't get free advertising very often, and I feel like Jaden definitely won't be getting it anymore after a rant like that. So definitely consider what the actual implications of these photo reposts are before you make that decision. It's a little ridiculous.
Yep. So I think we've kind of beat that down. It'll come up again, but I do want to talk about this before we end it. This is an interesting topic, right? And I just kind of felt like I wanted to argue with someone this morning. Sometimes you wake up and you just I don't know. It's fun sometimes. Anyway, so Dan Madden posted, please, you got to stop doing this. Way more dangerous than you think. Pull over instead. Stop that right there. I totally agree. I absolutely totally agree. This is one of the most dangerous things you can do while storm chasing. Mm-hmm. And I've never even seen it this bad. Completely blocking the road. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is terrible. Which, by the way, if a tornado comes through there, all of these people are getting their cars completely destroyed because the wind actually increases under a bridge. I'm sure most everyone listening to this knows that, but yeah, they're screwed. From hail, okay, sure, you save it from hail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he continues. This is also what insurance is. Anyone who says this has never had their car hailed out by insurance.
No, that's that is a ridiculous statement, actually.
That is one of the dumbest things I have ever read. Right? So, I hailed out my car. I had an old beater Volvo. Well, I still do. Now it's a hailed out beater Volvo. Why? Because the value of my car was $2,200. The hail repair was going to cost well over $4,000 or $5,000. My lights were hailed out. My front lights, back lights, windshield, everything. So I went to going through insurance, which, by the way, is a huge hassle. And they said, all right, well, we can give you the value of your car, total it out, $2,200, and then you have a salvage title. So, now any damages to your car aren't covered, but you can use this money for whatever you want. So of that money, I spent a decent amount repairing the windshield. I had to get new lights, the whole deal. But now I have a completely damaged car with a lot of stuff still cracked. And no, that isn't what insurance is for. Yes, I saved probably $1,500-$1,600 by having insurance, but now I have a bad car.
And another question.
That's not what insurance is for.
Yeah.
If you could avoid hail, I would also avoid hail, but just don't do it like this. Find a gas station or something.
And another question. So this is something that I haven't experienced this with hail before, and it might not matter for your car just because it's probably on like the bare minimum insurance as it is. What was your premium before and after you made that claim? Because I know after you make claims in terms of vehicle accidents, it will go up a ton. I don't know if that's the case with hail.
No, it's not the case, and I couldn't tell you for sure because it changed anyway. Because I had to update it for doing delivery driving, which did increase my premium.
Mm-hmm.
But then also when it's on a salvage title, because it doesn't pay out what damages your car, it's only to other people's cars, then it decreased a bit there. So I couldn't tell you what the net increase or decrease was, but I don't think it was as high as it would have been if it was in an accident or something like that.
Right, okay, that makes sense. And it's kind of ridiculous that he would say, this is what insurance is for. Literally the center vehicle in that photo is a BMW X5. I am pretty sure, I'm sure your premium wouldn't have gone up very much, if at all, just based on the hail damage. I'm sure that their premium would. That's an expensive ass vehicle.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a strange thing to say.
Don't do this, but also it's a strange thing to say. So.
Yeah. And I can't imagine, do you remember, what was it, 2021, we had that major hailstorm come through Norman, and it hit the mile of cars in the dealership.
Well, that was $1 billion disaster, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because there were, like 5,000 cars that got hailed out or something and were unsalvageable. I went through there a couple days afterwards just to see what they had parked in the back, and it was like 90 or 100% of the cars that were on these lots were just completely destroyed.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention, so after my car got hit, and I'm sure this was a few months after that happened. I think it might even have been a year after that happened. I actually don't recall, but so first when you go with insurance and say, okay, my car's been hailed out, they say, okay, go to a place, get an estimate on your damage. That's it. Just get an estimate and then submit that to us, and we can process your claim. So after I got hailed out, I called a place in Norman, and my car got hailed out in May. And I said, all right, just need to get in just to get an estimate. Don't need repairs done. Just need you to come out, walk around the car, and tell me how much. And they said, all right, yep, great, no problem. Our next appointment will be third week of October. Are you free then? And I was like, excuse me, in 6 months or whatever, 5 months? Yeah, sorry, we're really backed up. So I called someplace else. Yeah, we're looking at kind of the end of October right now is the time frame that we get in there. And so even if you can get your car claimed, it is such a pain to deal with this, especially in places that receive a lot of hail, because these places are so backed up.
Yeah.
Look, even as a chaser, if you can avoid hail, just avoid the hail. I mean, unless you're prepared to just pay out of pocket for a new windshield or new headlights, then by all means go for it. But it's not as easy as you think.
No, or rhino line your vehicle. That's always an option.
That's true too.
Yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this week. Make sure you head over to ChasePal WX on Twitter and vote for the upcoming Chaser of the Week. Again, that'll be linked in the description. It'll be posted on our Twitter at ChasePal WX. Till next week, if you guys have any topics you want us to cover, anything that you think we could do better, of course, we're always looking for feedback, especially given that we're just starting this thing up. We'd love to see your content. We'd love to hear what you have to say. If you've got any cool chasing stories, make sure to submit them at the link below as well. And I think other than that, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep, see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell button so you're notified every time a video like this comes out. And while you're at it, why don't you check out chasepal.us? That way you're able to connect with us over all social media platforms.